Enigma depravatio est. Enigma crudelitas est.
Welcome back, my fellow seekers. In light of recent UFO claims by David Grusch, who I do believe is giving us clues if we read between the lines and compare his claims with others with a lower public profile, such as John Desouza, who may be more at liberty to reveal his opinion about the true nature of this phenomenon, while keeping in mind that both men may be part of the soft disclosure process by the DoD. And one part of that process may be to use the expectational extraterrestrial hypothesis to slowly reveal the true theory. Without further ado, here's that interview, and keep seeking those enigmas.
So I figured, like always, if you could please start out with a little bit of background information, and then I figured we'll start there.
Yes, I'm John Desouza, Special Agent, retired of the FBI. I am sometimes also called the X-Man because several of my cases were used for inspiration and for an old show called The X-Files, where that happened a very long time ago, and very interesting material. And so I call a lot of my stories and my stuff that I distribute to people these days, I call them the real life X-Files, and I let them know what those stories are, and that's part of what my book that you've cited here, The Extra Dimensionals, is all about as well. It's about the reality and the truth behind alien visitors and UFOs, which is something that people may not know, that this is extremely relevant to the time that we're living through right now, and that's why I talk about this stuff all the time. And so I've been doing this for several years after I retired from the FBI, after I left the FBI, and now I've been just doing other investigations into paranormal matters, and things that are not commonly known in the normie atmosphere, basically.
And so, John, what made you basically want to go to the extent that you have? Because I believe you have 3 books, right?
Yes. Okay. Yes, I do.
And so, was there some kind of a deal, or would there have been any kind of restrictions to start talking about this while you were still active, or did you have to wait for retirement to get started?
Well, you do have to wait for retirement to really get started with distributing this information. And I retired from the FBI in 2013. In 2013, as soon as they got a guy in charge of the FBI named James Comey, who came in to take over the FBI, and that's when I left. I left the very same moment that he came in and took over. And after that, I was able to write my books, distribute my books, and the FBI just have to do reviews of my books to make sure I'm not giving up any top secret information. And that's very easy to avoid because, and this is an open secret, all of the information that I go through and that I show to people is basically in the public sphere already. It's all out there. It's just that people have a hard time finding it and being exposed to it. I can tell you right off the bat, a lot of the information that I talk about is also exposed on the declassified files of the FBI at a place that I'm sure you know about, Adnan, called vault.fbi.gov, where all the declassified files are released onto the net. And the CIA does a similar thing at a place called the CIA Sitting Room on the net, where they show all their declassified files, and the stuff that is revealed it's unbelievable. For instance, on the FBI, at the FBI vault.fbi.gov, they actually have categories, and some of the categories are UFOs, animal mutations, and the JFK assassination. So you've got thousands and thousands of files dumped onto the net in the public, in the public cybersphere for everyone to see and read. But if people don't have someone like me to interpret those files for them, it's a little difficult. It's a little difficult for them to understand what they're looking at. So that's part of the reason I wrote The Extra Dimensionals, where I expose some of those documents, including the first document that the FBI ever revealed to me, showing me that alien visitors and UFOs are real, but they are not physical. And that is revealed at a document in FBI files called The Smoking Gun. The Smoking Gun, which is a document written by and I show that document in my book, The Extra Dimensionals, and anyone can actually go and download it for free. It's a very simple process, and it actually is a document from an FBI agent who had an informant that he described as super normal, an old-timey word for supernatural. In other words, his informant was an alien visitor. So he said his alien visitor informant told him several, 8 conclusions about alien visitors and UFOs. And among those 8 conclusions are that they are here for peaceful purposes. They are not coming from outer space. They're not coming from our outer space at all. They're coming from other dimensions, other levels of existence called Vedas in the old language. Vedas, other levels of reality, and the same is true for UFOs. And this document was from July 1947, I believe, and right around the same time that the Roswell PSYOP went forward. So there's a lot involved there, but this document has been the most ignored document in ufology, and I'm sure, Adnan, because of your work, you're familiar with the document as well, but most people aren't, and most people aren't aware that this document told us all that UFOs and alien visitors are not physical in the sense that we are. And that leads to a lot of other investigations that corroborate that information as well. And that actually leads into an alarm that I am trying to sound for people today, to eliminate the deceit, the deception, and how they are being fooled in this area of ufology today, and how that is going to be leading to much worse things. And so that's what I discuss always with people, and that's what I try to raise the alarm on all the time.
So, John, maybe I misheard you. So you're saying that there was an FBI agent that had an informant that was an alien giving him information?
That's what I believe based on his description of his informant in the document.
Okay.
That's it, because he described his informant as being super normal and being a type of creature that would make other scientists not believe his information. So for me, when I saw that, it just made me believe that his informant was actually an alien visitor himself.
And so knowing that, and especially that it's, this extra dimensional, and that they're coming from these different dimensions, from a, I guess, nuts and bolts, let's say an average, if there's such a thing, FBI agent, how would they go about, let's say, to investigate something? Can you maybe speak a little bit to that?
Sure. And I can tell you the way that we go about to investigate is that then when we have a UFO case, we will actually look at it with a different lens that is far more open than the lens that the average investigator would look at it with. For instance, we have the incident that occurred, the incident that occurred, I think it was like 1942, in the middle of World War II, what we call the Battle of Los Angeles, for instance, where we had the entire California coast was all hinked up and was all very alarmed because they believed that Japanese Zeros were going to be coming in to Los Angeles at any moment. So the entire California coast was militarized, and Los Angeles was militarized with anti-aircraft munitions and all kinds of stuff set up to be on the lookout. And of course, what we had instead of Japanese Zeros, what they had one night coming in was a couple of large UFOs that came in right over Los Angeles. So what did they do? The investigation shows, after the fact, investigation shows that they actually had the batteries throw up all the munitions. In other words, anti-aircraft fire shot at these UFOs, and they shot everything up at these UFOs, and the UFOs didn't move. They just stayed there. And so we had all these munitions go up, and the newspapers put out, some news. Oh yeah, the targets were destroyed. Oh yeah, this was successful. Whatever they were destroyed and everything. But those munitions take pictures. They take pictures of what's going on. And so investigation after the fact shows that there were pictures that actually showed all this munitions going up there and crashing into each other and creating huge explosions in the air. And also many of the munitions we can see went right through the UFOs. They went right through the UFOs and landed on the ground and killed about 5 people on the ground in Los Angeles, were killed by these munitions that just passed through and went down and killed people on the ground. Now that part was not reported almost anywhere, but it actually can be looked up, can be shown in investigation after the fact. And then the photographs, which were constant clicking photographs that went off during every moment of this incident and afterwards, showed 2 UFOs, unmarked, unmolested, that simply just sailed away slowly after all the munitions went off and crashed into each other and did everything else. They left. They were fine. And now that is just one incident, one of the investigations that actually fits in perfectly with this hypothesis that UFOs and alien visitors are not physical, at least not fully physical in the sense that we are. And so that's just one incident that shows, with the complete investigation after the fact, shows that these UFOs were not solid, at least not fully solid in the sense that we understand solidity. And that goes together with many other incidences that have occurred also that show that these UFOs have not been solid, have not been physical in the sense, the same way that we were told in this communication that I'm referring to, that told us these UFOs, they're not physical, they're just not. And so, and you can look at so many other investigations. I did an investigation after the fact, a revisiting of Travis Walton's incident in 1975 in Sitgraves, Arizona. Where he was abducted while he was on the logging crew, and this was with Travis's help as well, because Travis has changed what he believes happened during this incident, and where he was actually, there was a UFO that came down And it was not, again, it was filled with light and plasma. It was not just a metallic shell. There's a rule that we use generally in investigating these UFOs, and it's called the not just metal rule. UFOs cannot be just a metal object and be expected to be believed to be authentic. There has to be something else. The UFOs that are believed to be authentic are generally, they're in a shifting state of matter. They're filled with plasma, they're filled with light, and there seems to be like a shifting state of matter. Well, that was the case with the Travis Walton UFO as well. It was filled with light. It was about 60 feet in diameter, and then Travis was taken aboard that ship. He was taken aboard that ship, and then he went through a process where he broke free from a bunch of grays that were trying to hold him down. And then he started walking through the UFO. I mean, supposedly through the UFO. And he was walking from chambers that were the size of a football stadium into other stadiums that were even larger. In other words, the UFO wasn't just a 60-foot diameter craft. It was something else. There was like 5D space involved with it. So that it reinforced, again, the same hypothesis that these UFOs are not just physical in the 3D sense that we are physical as well. See, so that was another incident that I go through very carefully in the extra dimensionals to show people how that fits in with that hypothesis that these UFOs are not physical in the sense that we understand physicality. And so there's many investigations like that reinforce the same hypothesis, and they also go into the hypothesis of the alien visitors themselves not being physical in the sense that we are. And so I do a lot of those, I show a lot of those investigations as well, so that people can understand this. And by the way, this hypothesis is not something new. It is something that was made very well known. The extra-dimensional hypothesis, or the intra-dimensional hypothesis, by Jacques Vallée, John Keel in the 70s. I believe it was the 1970s. And many other great thinkers in ufology also talked about this. But the earliest that I have seen it is from this document in 1947, July of 1947, in FBI files, that the smoking gun that I'm talking about right now.
So, you went into a good deal about the crafts themselves. So what kind of analysis were you able to draw basically about the beings themselves?
About the beings themselves, what I have seen from place to place is that it appears that the beings, when they appear to people, very often during, let's say, abductions, they appear to have a non-physical, ethereal quality to them. Let's say like the Betty and Barney abduction, which occurred when they were taken. They describe the abduction experience, and a lot of abductees that I describe as well. There's a quality to the abduction that appears to be dreamlike, ethereal, non-physical. It's almost like they are being converted into another reality, rather than being taken in a physical way, in a totally physical experience. So, and that has been consistent from every single abduction experience that I have investigated. The other thing that it said in this document is that these UFOs have no one inside of them. They have no one inside of them. In the Bible, it says that the wheels that accompany these creatures, in the book of Ezekiel, you probably know, it says that the wheels have spirits within them that move them, and yet there are spirits that move with the wheels outside of the wheels, and that they move together. It's and again, we can pretend that we know what it means, but what I do think that means is that these UFOs, the authentic, real UFOs, are themselves alive. They have a sort of consciousness, and they accompany alien visitors as well. They do not contain alien visitors like us, because they're not like us, where they don't have to lock themselves in tin cans and sail across the universe like we would, because they're not like us. It's a very different type of experience. So yeah, I do believe that alien visitors are real. I believe that UFOs, authentic UFOs, non-terrestrial UFOs, are real also. But I believe they are very, very different from what we have been led to believe by Hollywood, by celebrity ufologists, by many people who are invested in making us believe that UFOs and alien visitors are physical, just like us. They're physical, just like us. As a matter of fact, that's what Roswell, the entire Roswell incident, was designed to make us believe, to make us create. Roswell was actually designed to make us believe the opposite, that alien visitors are physical, just like us. They're in these tin cans, and they can just crash and end up as dead bodies by the side of the road, just like us, because they're just like us, physical, just like us, and they're not. That's why I believe that the Roswell incident was a giant psyop that was set up in order to make us, to take over that agenda, and to make us believe that UFOs and alien visitors are physical, which I believe is not true at all. Because the numbers of people we have had missing every year since 1947 is not explainable. It's not explainable in any other way, because the numbers are just too high. If you look through FBI criminal statistics, in this country, in the United States, we have an average of about 35,000 people in the United States on a regular basis every year that disappear. And I'm not saying people that run away from home or are suspected in foul play, like possible murders. No, we're talking people that they're gone. They just disappear. The numbers are just too high to be explained in any physical, like purely physical sense. So that's one of the things that we need to really look at, to understand that the deal that was made was a real thing. It really was. And if you want to discuss the varieties of aliens that exist, like species, I think I have another, and I explained this in my book, The Extra Dimensionals. I really believe that there's only two types of alien visitors that matter, and that is the benevolent ones that are working with us to try to make things better with us, and the ones that are the malevolent ones, the ones that are working against us, working for our destruction. Those are the only two types that matter, because alien visitors are extra dimensional. I believe, and I show this in my book, that they can basically change species like we change clothing. Just, we can have a gray that decides to just change into a Nordic, and so they do. As a matter of fact, we saw this in in the case, in Travis Walton's case, in 1975 in St. Graves, Arizona, when they took him aboard this ship. Supposedly, he had 3 grays that attacked him. They were these little grays that attacked him and tried to push him down on this table, and he just started swinging at them, and they ran away. Well, then we had 3 Nordics that then came back later to him, and they were very large, tall, very powerful looking beings, and they acted just like the 3 grays and brought him back to the same table where the grays tried to put him down, and they successfully put him down this time. And when I saw that scene happening, when I saw that, it just connected for me that these were the same 3 grays that simply changed their clothing, so to speak, to become 3 Nordics, and then to do what they had to do successfully. So yeah, I don't really believe that species matters with alien visitors, because they're not physical like we are.
We know that the Vatican is involved, and I'm working with people who are working with the Vatican to basically get them, right? We know that the Vatican is involved, and I'm working with people who are working with the Vatican to basically get them.
Enigma depravatio est. Enigma crudelitas est.